Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here to review Jekyll and Hyde together again. I think a lot of people, when probably seeing this title, will assume that it might be a sequel of some kind, which it's not that. It seems to be of original nature, as well as also it trying to do something very different with the Jekyll and Hyde story. Because we would come to find that for stuff like The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen or the series Jekyll, which I had gone on to review, you can check out that series. You can probably go on and probably find the pilot of some sort of which that I may have reviewed on here. Go ahead and check that out if you want to, but I would recommend people checking out the series. I would also go on and say that I've seen David Hasselhoff's portrayal on Broadway of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, so I've kind of seen the much more traditional story and musical, and also the layers of kind of variations of this character at some certain point in my life. Whether they're good, bad, indifferent, they exist. So, this variation of Jekyll and Hyde we had come to find is to be done in a much more parody or joking like manner. We had come to find that this movie is to be much more of a young Frankenstein, Frankenhooker variation of character, and it's done in a much more pokingly, jokingly way. As well as also, instead of having the potion concoction turning Jekyll into Hyde, we go on to have a snorting of white substance that is to, of course, be a powder that goes on to eventually transform Jekyll from Hyde. And in all honesty, the transformation of this movie comes off as almost a werewolf-like transformation, and we also see the character, when he turns into Hyde, become much more of a hairy-ish like man, which is kind of funny. But we also have eventually Jekyll, when transforming into Hyde. Hyde almost looks very much like a pimp. He tears away the skin while transforming, and he has all these bling and all these rings on, and he has his tooth that turns into this silver tooth that says love on it, and all of a sudden his chest is to appear more hairy and has this gold necklaces and bling on it, and yeah, like, the further and further we go about this, it's all for laughs. It's all for yuck yucks. And so, as Jekyll is, I'm so used to talking about a certain character on a certain Power Ranger show known as Heckle. Jekyll, we come to find in this movie, is to have a lover named Mary, who he eventually is to be more and more guilty that he is to kind of be sleeping around with other people through Hyde. And Jekyll is to very much more want to marry this woman as quickly as humanly possible, and to feel guilty for the fact that he is to be such a fool and and that he is to love Mary so much, and eventually he gets to a point to where he's pushing to sneak into her place to try to get with her. So we come to find out that Jekyll is to be this doctor who is being seemingly the top surgeon of his hospital. And Dr. Carew, who is to end up being Mary's father, as well as also Jekyll's boss here, is to want to go on and force Jekyll to do this certain operation. Come to find out there is to be this old man that wants this completely body rehaul of him wanting every single one of his organs retransplanted. And he means everything, to the point of his balls is seemingly a thing that wants to also get transplanted as well. So we have Dr. Carew forcing Jekyll to do this operation, and Jekyll is at a point of transitioning from surgery to research, and is wanting to try to go on and master the skill of survival instincts to be more primal within a person, which honestly doesn't quite make sense of why Jekyll transforms into Hyde, because of just the way that it just sounds of just needing some kind of scientific way to figure out why Jekyll needs to perform these experiments to turn into Hyde here. So we have an accidental sleeping of Jekyll that turns him into Hyde, and then Hyde starts prowling the streets at night to go on to a club of some kind to make his way into meeting up with a woman named Ivy, who is to have him be so infatuated by her as she is to go on and be forming this song that she is to seemingly having her body glow of lights, and she sings a song about it, which I found to be hilarious, but then also like, wow, this song is actually pretty decent. So as Hyde makes his way to Ivy, we start to see that every single time that the Jekyll Hyde transformation happens, Hyde needs to find this woman to get with her yet again. Like, he's just an unstoppable force. So, like, a lot of this could also seem very much like the Jim Carrey Mask film, or also to be like Nutty Professor in a lot of ways. But it's also to be like the very much traditional transformational film of certain sorts. So we go on to have more and more Jekyll become ever so guilty that he is to be in the throes of passion of these random people when he is to be wakened to find that he is in a bed with people. To where Heckle goes on and needs to make his way back to Mary as he feels so guilty. That then forces Dr. Carew finding Jekyll, finding Mary together, and Jekyll is to be forced into, like, oh yeah, I'll do this operation that you want me to do. And then Doctor Who is like, yeah, that's what I thought you would say. So we go into this operation, and by the time that happens, we have Jekyll that's so addicted to becoming Hyde, as well as also by this point, the white powdery substance is no longer needed for this transition to now happen. Now it just happens at a certain point where it seems that Hyde is to need to come out at the worst times. So we would get to a point to where now by the end of this film, here's where things start to, like, they stretch out for too long, as well as also, like, by the end, once we really get to the dance number, I'm like, let's wrap this up. Like, really, there's nowhere left to go with this movie once we get to the dance number. After that, it's just a lot of runaround, and it's a lot of nonsensical, okay, let's figure out a way to wrap this up. And I'm like, come on. Like, the ending is just so, like, dragging out by that point. And they try to just kind of produce these little small little laughing moments, but still, it's just like, it just drags on by the end to figure out a way to wrap this up. And also gives us the joke of the original author kind of rolling in his grave, literally, by the end of this film. So I would say for Jekyll and Hyde together again, if you were to go on and have very low expectations of this film, I would go on and say that this movie honestly is okay. It's fun. It had a lot of really good laughs. It really did. Like, a lot of the early parts of this movie, I was like, man, there's just nonstop jokes here, and it was really good. And even if they lingered on stuff, like, it was a good lingering. But then eventually it just got to the point where they were just feasibly just, like, beating a dead horse, metaphorically. And I was just like, okay, like now we're just kind of just really just eating up time now, so that way we can just get to a certain runtime of this film, and that just kind of weakens the movie the further and further this plays out and goes on. You get quite a bit of enough, I think, skin in this movie and intimacy scenes that eventually you probably will end up getting satisfied if you're looking for that specifically in a film. But maybe you may not get enough of that, like specific, like because it feels like most of it is probably more of a build up or a tease or whatever, and maybe you're to be found wanting. But regardless, that's how this movie is to go on, and honestly, play out to you, the viewer. So I had a good time with this movie. I enjoyed it. I had a good laugh. I had a good plethora of laughs. Man, I've kind of found back-to-back movies that are actually really funny and really good. Uh, Check out Who's Mining the Store. Not my review. Just check out that film. That movie was hilarious. I thoroughly enjoyed that film, and feasibly, I hope people will go on and possibly check out that movie if you've never seen it in your life, because you'll have a barrel of laughs. You'll just have a really good time. I'm not I'm not saying check out my review. I'm saying just check out the film. I'm not trying to. I'm really not trying to like say, oh yeah, like here's these other things that I've done in the past. No, like I'm not doing that at all. Like also, I think a lot of people would say that I've dragged out a lot of videos, and I'm trying as much as possible not to do that. Things just pop in my brain and I roll with it. So Jekyll and Hyde, together again. Yeah, definitely check this piece out. I would recommend it. Where can you go on and see this movie if you want to check it out for absolutely free? Because right now it is available on YouTube for renting, as well as some other apps to rent it for. I will give you a free option, but it may not be convenient enough for you. So I'm going to state this. You can go on to Google search, if you have a mobile device, Google search this thing, an app called Moopzy. Moopzzi. The logo of said app will have a green M on it. And I would go on and find a way to download this app. If you're going to have to go on and download an APK, I legitimately have this app myself. I've used it for a very long time, and it is to go on and be very beneficial for me to find a number of movies, a number of shows for absolutely free. There are to be at some point some certain ads that appear and what have you, but yeah, like it's to all be free. So that is a very convenient, free way for you to say you can watch this movie. Other places, like this movie, I had gone on to see that it may be available on Movie Box 3, but I clicked into it and I could not get the movie for the life of me to play. So that's the reason why I'm mentioning it. Secondary, it may at some point be available there, but I would not hedge my bets. But that may be an app that could be available on the Google Play Store. You'll be able to go on and see that this app has a plethora of other movies that are to be available there, that are all for free. I would recommend this app. Lastly, it won't have this movie there, but it's something for you to be able to go on and find a wide variety of movies and shows. KLEDE Plus, Cleed Plus. This app is going to have a huge wide variety of movies and shows for absolutely free, so you can check out this app, check out a number of things, and be able to kind of do everything you want. So now that I've kind of done movie and show reviews kind of almost on the daily, it's kind of hard to say future reviews at this point, because for me to rattle off a number of things and then also I just find random stuff like this, where in all honesty, how I was to go on and find about this movie was I honestly actually looked for my my stats for YouTube, and this just was a thing that popped up there. So I'm like, okay, I'll check out this movie, see where that goes. I've done those kind of things plethora of different times, and it ends up just kind of getting a result of like, okay, well, I at least reviewed that once, so like it was just a thing to do that day, but like it never really moved the needle. But if anything, I was just like, well, this was something that would honestly have been something that if I researched and found about it, this would be something that I would have watched anyways. So it wasn't because YouTube told me, it was just because, oh, this would be something that I would probably watch anyway. So I'm going to check it out. So with that said, let's go on and say for future reviews, the only thing I've said a lot of stuff in the last review. For this, I'll go on and say that I'm kind of interested in watching this Liam Neeson Owen Wilson film called The Haunting from 1999. That actually is a movie that looks really interesting to me. I kind of skimmed through it a little bit today to find some stuff that I could use for thumbnails and background stuff because I've seen it in the past. So it's kind of familiar to me to kind of know what I'm looking at. But like to re-go through the movie again is kind of like really interesting to see. Like, wow, this movie is really very, very visually appealing. Even though I am to remember, it's even more so. Like I realize how amazingly what it's trying to do in that film beyond my memory of it. So that's great. I think I'm so very much appealed to that, even though there's a plethora of things that I can compare it to, and there's also to be like scary movies and stuff like that that kind of are to be similar to this piece. But anyways, yeah, The Haunting could be something that eventually I may check out, even though I've probably gone on and even checked it as a tag in the past, and I haven't gotten really much fruit out of that. But maybe it's just because logically it kind of gets lost in the shuffle of words like haunting and stuff like that. Anyways, it could be something interesting to do in the future. Other than that, yeah, there's just stuff that I would just kind of throw out there that I probably will not go definitively into checking out in recent days. I'm also still going on and doing fairly on the regular to do Power Rangers, so that's kind of taking up some of my time. And believe me, I do want to go into doing that again. It's just something that I'm going on and realizing, hey, this is on the bubble. There's stuff that I can go on and check out, and then I'll come back to that certain bit of content. I'm definitely not gonna just get further and further away from reviewing. I found this today. I'm reviewing it, hoping that this is gonna do well for the channel. I hope something does well for the channel. Like it seems that some of the stuff that I have been doing recently has gone on to show some kind of fruit. So I'm more than grateful for people going on and checking all this stuff out. Even there was stuff that I did a review on such a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away that people are finding today and talking about the film. And I'm like, oh, great. Like, to me, I'm just like, it's good that some people are still finding these projects because I'm like, really? That one? Like, that one was a good movie. Believe me, it was. It was surprisingly good. Uh, I'll mention it. It could escape the field. I had gone on to like I had a good time with that film. I really enjoyed it, and it's nice to see that other people are actually going on and finding that movie somewhere. And I'm like, really, that one? Like that one was actually a pretty decent movie. I really did enjoy it, but there's also some certain other projects that people comment on and it's like, oh yeah, how is it that I found this? I'm like, yeah, I don't know either because like this is such a obscure show. Uh, but hey, like thank you for going on and feasibly taking the time to find this bit of content because it's great that people are going on and not only finding this stuff, but then also just willing to look at my videos and have their thoughts either to compare or to even one up me because a lot of people are way more smarter than I am. So yeah, so and there is no wrong answer when it comes down to a movie and show review. Mine could be wrong to a person who is to go on and much easier enjoy things and me the opposite. But anyways, so thank you for going on and watching all this stuff. I really am happy that people are going on and finding something to watch, because it's really hard out there to find the best possible movie and show right now for these new releases kind of being hit or miss. And yeah, I'm rattling off. I apologize. But anyways, thank you for watching this. I know a lot of people will probably head out at this point because this is fairly long anyways. I'm going to go on and get into the full-on breakdown of this movie, scene for scene, blow for blow. You know, anything that is to be just left to just say about this film at some certain point. It also was really interesting to see Cassandra Peterson, I believe is her name in this film, who is actually more famously known as Elvira. I honestly did not want to just say, hey, Elvira is in this film. Because I want to respect the actual actress's person. And also, it's not like she was being Elvira in this movie. She was going on and being someone different. And it was interesting to see. I believe she was the one that had the lipstick on the mask. I think that was actually her. I couldn't exactly tell. But it of course was to be the point where we have the finger in the boobs or the bust kind of thing, and I was like, oh, so we kind of always tend to have like that kind of comedy when it comes to Cassandra Peterson and her just kind of flaunting her goods. But hey, like, why not? If you got them, you might as well flaunt them. But anyways, so that is a fun little Easter egg that I saw on IMDb, and then also it's like, oh yeah, so that must have been her, because like, why does this person look familiar to me? Because I can only tell by the eyes. Anyways, so let's go on. Let's break down this film. Hopefully you somehow enjoyed it, or maybe even if you hated this film, let me know in the comments below, because it's okay if you at the end of the day were like, man, this movie's so goofy and crappy and weird. But at least I hope you went on to watch this in a free way, or if you just rented it, like, at least you only spent a couple of bucks. So maybe you regretted that purchase. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if you regretted it. But also let me know in the comments below if you were to like any monster-ish, like science experiment gone wrong kind of films, like Invisible Man's, The Mummies, Dracula's, Frankenstein. Like, I've kind of been doing those kind of movies. Of course, if you've uh, seen League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, that's kind of a hodgepodging of teams together that are to, of course, be characters that are to have these kind of things go on with them. At some point, I was kind of interested in doing those solo Dorian Gray films that really do have quite a bit of skin on them, but also are to have this kind of immortal story to them. I was kind of interested in that, but I don't know if that's really viable anymore to honestly do, for how obscure that character really is. But if anything, also, I'm trying to go on and try to eventually, beyond doing Power Ranger stuff, which I am going to get back to, go on and try to just dip my toe into these kind of fun projects, so I can kind of get something out of them. So, with that said, let's pause here. Let's get all the stuff that I need to get out to talk about this entire film. Alright, so in the very beginning of this film, spoilers everybody, because it is spoiler time, it's about the time I'm going to spoil this movie. Let me know in the comments below, anything that you like, talk about whatever you like. If anything, I always say that, because it's just my knee-jerk thing after just... Even though I've said it a number of times already, just knee-jerk thing just to say it. Just let me know. Just say the word math. However you want to spell that, math. Just put it down in the comments. I probably will have no idea or any a memory of me going on and asking that, but just say math in the comments, and I'll just be like, okay, what was that about? So I will be confused. So, in the beginning of this film, we have the title being presented to us, and immediately we have this rolled up dollar bill that ends up getting thrusted in someone's nose to snort up the title. Then the following we go on and see is Jekyll going on and performing this operation that it seems to be connected to the brain here. Jekyll is going on and being a masterful man of surgery, and Jekyll is showcasing how he's to kind of show off motor functions and show that this hand is to like like swing up and give people the finger, give people the bird, and this doctor is sewing up this brain and he's asking for a thimble and this is so we have all the doctors in the back of them like, ooh, ah, all right. So they're all very impressed with this doctor and they say how cute and handsome he is and everything like that. So after Jekyll goes on and is to perform this operation, as Dr. Carew and an old man is kind of watching off the distance here, which I don't know exactly what the old man. Oh, Howard or uh, Hubert Howes. Howes. That's his name. Howes. I'll go with Howes so I can remember this guy's name because his name is very goofy. In my mind, I was thinking of like Howard Hughes the whole time, but that's not exactly his name. So, moving on here. So, Dr. Carew and Howes, they're both watching this thing on the telly, and Dr. Cruz is telling this patient that, hey, yeah, this is going to be the guy that's operating on you. And Howes is like, well, are you sure about that? And Dr. Cruz is like, yeah, like he's our best surgeon. You're going to get the best. And so Howes is like, well, you better give me the best or otherwise I'm going to go on and I'm going to take you and I'm gonna kill you and I'm gonna bury you and I'm gonna put you in a pit and I'm gonna leave you there, so on and so forth. So, like threatening this guy that he's gonna go on and he's gonna kill and hurt him in the worst way possible to get him intimidated to do what he wants. So here is where Jekyll goes on and starts talking to the doctors that are in the background here. They start asking him questions, and Heckle reveals his mask. Come to find out, it looks like he had like some problems shaving this morning, as like we see some white just things that are just to be all over his face, which honestly just that is really hilarious because it's like, man, this guy really cut himself shaving. Like he's really good at going on and being a doctor, but man, is he really shitty at just shaving himself. Which, yeah, I'm sure a lot of us could go on and have that problem. So, and also, like, for me, like, when I go on and I take way too long from shaving from last time, like, yeah, I end up kind of regretting it because, like, yeah, I really should have shaved much more consistently. So that way I would just have to, like, not deal with the kind of the aftermath of kind of just not having my facial hair just not smooth enough or crisp enough or whatever, crispy enough. Anyways, moving on here, tangenting on. So we are to go on and start having these doctors ask Jekyll this question, and so come to find out, Jekyll is to reveal to these doctors that he's no longer going to do any more surgeries and he's going into the research division. Everybody is to go on and be like gasping about them. Like, wait a minute, what? So one of the doctors raises their hand. It's like, I'm sorry, but like, you're the best doctor at what you do. Like, even though I can completely understand that you are to go on and want to do this whole other thing of research, can't you just go on and do one more surgery? Like, because like you're really really good at it. Like, it would just frustrate me to the utmost max if like you didn't go on and just do one more surgery. And Jekyll is like, well, no, I'm sorry. uh like I'm going to just be devoting my uh my waking hours to just research. I'm sorry to just leave that in anything but to just be focusing on the survivalist instincts of the human body. And so like, yeah, Jekyll goes into the whole thing of what exactly he's going on and trying to do with working on the brain and getting into that field of research. So, and also he wants to go on and instead of going into surgery, he wants to try to find a way of doing an alternative. And a lot of people are like, well, what could be the alternative to surgery? And he's like, well, drugs. And they're like, drugs, yeah, all right. Everybody high fives, like, yeah, drugs, woo. So, but then Dr. Crew tells Howells here, it's like, well, rest assured, he will still go on and perform your specific operation. And, like, regardless of what he is to go on and say here, I will make sure of it. So, and here's where Howells kind of threatens him. So, Doctor Who is going on, leaving here specifically so he can find Jekyll. So Dr. Crew goes on and confronts Jekyll here. They end up going into this elevator, and there's one point where Dr. Crew goes on and he sees this nun in the elevator randomly, and he kisses her, and he's like, I'll meet you later, baby, and he walks off. That was so good. But if anything, just like, we have this argument between the two of them, and so we have Jekyll and Dr. Crew here. They're arguing that Crew wants this operation, and Jekyll is telling him no. And it's all about being asked man to man, and it's about Hubert Howells that wants this total operation or total transplant, and he feels that Jekyll is the only guy to do this. And so Carew is going on, I'm trying to wanting to, Carew is going on and mentioning how, like, every single organ this guy wants is a transplant. And all the people who are patients also in this elevator are going on and overhearing this and like, ooh, ah, yeah, ooh, ah. They're touching their parts of the body and like, oh my God, liver, lungs, everything. And all the patients are like, ooh, ah, yeah. So Crew goes on and talks to Jekyll and says, hey, this guy doing this transplant is to try to keep this hospital afloat. Like, all these machines that see around you, they cost money, big money. And if anything, it can go on and save women like this from the brink of death. So you have to be a strong hero and this and that. So, and also, like, the fact of, like, Crew is also throwing that his daughter is to be engaged with Jekyll. So it's like, well, hey, you better go on and do this operation for me because you're engaged to my daughter. And so at this point, Jekyll is very upset that this guy is even willing to throw that into his face to force him into the surgery room. And so we go on here, and Jekyll is insulted, and it's like, are you seriously going to use your daughter against me here? as a pawn for your sleazy affair of operation. And we have Crew is like, you bet I would, and he starts laughing. He's like, ha 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 ha, and he is like rolling on the floor, ruffling. He's rolling on the floor, laughing, and it's kind of funny here because we have Carew, he's laughing here, and then when Heckle and Mary they come back from another alternate area, we come back to Carew, and he's still laughing. It's freaking funny. So Jekyll makes his way to this charity ward, and there's this sign that goes on to say, "And yeah, the sick and needy will be comforted." So Jekyll goes in this area like as if he's to go on and be this absolute like angel of a doctor, that he's to go on and be saving all of these hobo and sick people. So Jekyll goes in here and he finds one patient, and it seems that her back is having trouble, and she goes on to say, "I smell of death," uh, and uh, and she has miserable pains. So we have Jekyll that goes on and he adjusts her back, and we also come to find that he pulls out her 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 pooping tray, her little turlet from underneath her. So immediately after that, we have the patient who's like, "Oh my god, I feel a lot better," and I'm like, "Well, is it because of the pooping tray that he took out, or is it because he adjusted her?" I'm so confused. So we then go on and we continue to have Jekyll like just finding these random patients. We'd all of a sudden come to find Mary come in with all of these bags from all these stores, as if she's the traditional rich person that is just to have gone on the shopping spree, and bizarrely has all these bags with her. I'm like, why didn't you just leave that in your car? You had to have come here in a car, right? Or somebody dropped you off, like a limo or something. Like, why do you have all these bags on your wrists? But I guess it's to just go on and say that you went shopping, but to say that this person is to be rich. And I guess it's traditional, like, hey, if you have a rich girl, she has all these bags and she went shopping. And it's really just to throw in the face of all these poor people who obviously. Anyway, so we have Mary and this other woman, this other nurse that is kind of caring for the hobos. The two of them are having a bit of rapport, and then both Jekyll and her meet. So this is Mary, the girl that is to be the daughter of Carew, that Jekyll is to be engaged to. So we would go on to have Mary, who's very upset that Jekyll had missed an appointment between the two of them because he was supposed to go with her to have a meal with her, and he was too busy. We would then go on and have Jekyll realize that he has a lot going on right now. He had also adopted some mail order kid of his, and eventually Jekyll will go on and give Mary this little paper that goes on and has the adopted woman or adopted child be via picture to be saying what exactly this note of it is that she is to say about how like she honestly hates Jekyll in America or something of that means, but also she is to appreciate that he had mailed her this comb and she thanks him. So yeah, like very like that of course, yeah, that has to go on and has to be in that manner, in that way. So Mary just goes on and states this girl's vocabulary has really gone and improved, And Jekyll is like, well, yeah, she's a very lovely girl. So we have Heckle that goes on to make his way onto another patient. And the hobo goes on and says effing Red Cross or Blue Cross. Uh, we have Jekyll that is looking at this man is like, oh, this poor soul. If only his survival instincts was a lot better. That's the key. That's the key to saving everyone. So we have Jekyll and Mary, they leave. And so Heckle is stating to Mary that it's like it's a tough time for him to go on and kind of do anything right now because of his experiments. So really eventually that'll go on and lead Heckle to transition to try to get back to that and focus on his research. After Mary goes on and leaves the hospital and goes into her car. So when that happens, we go on to have Heckle that meets with a plastic surgeon who will eventually come to find is to be a person who wears lingerie underneath his clothes on the regular. We'll come to find out that he wears a robe by the second half of this movie, and he will reveal himself, Mr. Lanyon, as, yeah, a guy who is to seemingly be wearing lingerie. Perfectly cool. All right. Yeah. But anyways, so also, it was kind of interesting how Mary, when she was having a dialogue with Heckle, which I kind of really skipped over hugely, she mentioned how like, oh, you don't think I'm going to be a person that is to love you just because you have a lot of money, do you? And Heckle was like, or Jekyll was like, well, I wasn't thinking that, and Mary like, well, I was. Like I like that kind of bit of like she throws it out there just to be like, oh well. I thought that was kind of funny. Uh, but back to the experimental thing. So Jekyll is going on and he's consistently mentioning how these trials are failing, and will eventually come to find that he is to be experimenting on these mouses or mice. Mouses? Is mouses the perfect plural of this? I want to say mice. If either of that is wrong, you can correct me in the comments. We would go to find horrifically that one of the mices, one of the mouses, has gone on to noose himself and take his own life, and he left a horrific note that goes on to state, "Goodbye, cruel world, a mouse." So Jekyll goes to his chalkboard to try to figure out some kind of solution that he kind of feels that he needs to probably go on and start all over again. And all of a sudden, there's to be a knock at the door, and there seems to be a nurse who is to go on and ask, of course, for Jekyll's help because she can't find some other doctor. So Jekyll is to go on and ask this nurse, well, hey, what is the problem? And the nurse ends up going on to state Jekyll, well, it seems that this woman is to go on and seemingly have a foreign object lodged within her. And Jekyll is to go on and say, okay, well, where is the item lodged? And so the nurse goes on and spells it out, and he's just like, wait a minute. Like, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. So, Jekyll goes to the chalkboard and he starts writing it out. And eventually we'll come to realize that the thing that he's writing out is none other than vagina. And then he'll go, yeah. So Jekyll and Nurse make their way to this room to come to find out that Ivy is there and she's not alone. We'll come to find out that the foreign object is none other than a man's wang. And that man's wang ends up being a foreign man. So we have Jekyll that goes on to tell the nurse what exactly they're going to need to unleash man's wing from woman's vajayjay. So we go out of our way to have this procedure going on and to be done here. And then the following thing we see is both Jekyll and this girl Ivy, who is going on and talking to one another. Jekyll is going on and looking up and down this Ivy woman as she's starting to get dressed. And Ivy goes on and be like, well, hey, what are you looking at? And Jekyll's like, oh, nothing, as he puts his bucket over his head, trying not to showcase that he's just looking this woman up and down. So Ivy ends up getting upset because she realized that she is to have poked a hole in her favorite pair of pantyhose. And Jekyll goes on and like, well, hey, like I can kind of like how much does pantyhose cost? I'll just give you the money for that. Like it's fine. Like here's some money from some pantyhose. And Ivy's like, oh, so I have to give you head now so that way I can pay you for these pantyhose. And Jekyll's like, head. Oh no. He's like, no, I'm just giving you money and it's fine. So like, and she's like, really, no sex? Like you're just giving me money? And Jekyll's like, yeah, no sex. So I was like, okay, all right, this is new. So Ivy goes on and takes the money and she gives Jekyll the pantyhose. And bizarrely, Jekyll holds on to the pantyhose. And I'm not quite sure why. He goes on and he puts the pantyhose over this skull head, but then he just continues to have the pantyhose in the movie. He just continues to just have it on his person. And it's just, yeah. That's just the way this movie plays out. So we would also go on to have Ivy that tells Jekyll that she's performing at this club at Chinatown called Madame Woo Woo's. And oh yeah, I guess she does say that she's well, she just says that she's working. She's actually performing there. She's actually a singer there, but Jekyll doesn't know that. But so Ivy tells Jekyll to visit sometime, and when he turns into Hyde, he definitely will. So she says, save the whales, and then she leaves. So Dr. Jekyll now leaves the room with pantyhose on his head, as there seems to be another patient that is coming through with an accident where he is to have lost his hand. We have Jekyll that while this patient is to be making its way through, he accidentally just takes the hand and then realizes, oh, this is the one that is to have gotten lobbed off. Oh, okay. So and the patient goes on and says, yeah, I think I'll just go on and just rely on my wife to sew it back on me. And then he leaves. So the next thing we see is Jekyll going on and drinking some soda of some kind and eventually trying to figure out this white powder substance to try to make it to where he needs it to be for this experiment to be successful. Jekyll has gone on to do this experiment for far too long to the point where it's close to midnight. Jekyll turns to this recorder, a little cassette tape that he hits record on, and he is to be talking into it. I don't know if what people use nowadays. Maybe they probably just use their phone, or they do talk to text and just kind of leave little notes or ditties or what, I don't know what they do nowadays. Maybe they do some kind of voice thing somewhere in some other kind that isn't a tape recorder. Who knows? Let me know in the comments below what is be the current iteration of or variation of that. I have no idea. So Jekyll goes on to weigh this powder via this certain uh, weighing apparatus, which looks like if you guys have seen like the justice symbol that has the kind of the two equalizing things, like yeah, he weirdly has a machine that has this like equalizing uh, bit of thing of a visual that we see here. So Jekyll goes on to have 143 be the next thing that he's going to go on and see if this powder actually works. But he ends up getting far too exhausted to the point of him falling asleep. So Jekyll completely passes out on his desk, and what ends up happening here is to be completely by accident. Jekyll is to have a straw that he's to somehow be snoring into his nose, and then eventually, because of the straw going in his nose, Jekyll then lifts up his head, adjusts his head to go on and be on the opposite end, where conveniently also the powder is right next to him. So as Jekyll is to continue to snore here, the snoring is to also suction up some of the powder, which goes in to, of course, Jekyll's nose. He wakes up, and that's when we start to go on and have him start flipping out. It's almost as if this is to be some kind of actual uh what's the perfect word here? Uh Altercation of certain substances which to make him start to trip out. And it seems like he is tripping, and the visuals that we're seeing here is just kind of like, okay, why do these uh electrical devices start to look wonky the way they are? Why do all of these lab experiments are starting to look very oddly colorful? And what I guess we're kind of seeing this through the eyes of Jekyll here. So at some point, Jekyll, when we start to see the transformation between both Hyde and Jekyll here, we at a certain point have to see Jekyll who kind of flips himself upside down and falls to the ground. And then Jekyll grows massive amount of hair within mustache and also hair, of course, to go on and eventually grow hair, dare say, upon his chest, and also gold chains all of a sudden appear out of nowhere. A silver piece of tooth that is to go on and say love on it is to appear on the grill of said face of man. And we also have weirdly this guy's butt that is to, oddly enough, shift and change and flex of some kind, as well as also his manhood is to really be pitching a tent as well. So this world transformation almost to be so weird, especially when we get to the hands, as we also see that there is just the pinky where the nail is to grow very much way too long, because of course he ends up using the nail to snort up his substance. And also we end up seeing these rings appear out of seemingly the ripping of tearing of skin, oddly enough. So we have now Hyde, who is to go on and see the skull that has the pantyhose on it. And so Hyde drapes these pantyhose over him like a scarf and is to eventually go on and make his way outside into the club. Make his way to the club. So As Hyde is to go on and try to get to the club, he finds a man that is just getting out of his car. We have Hyde that goes on to steal this car away from this man and drive away from it. It honestly seems that this movie is to go on and be kind of like a lot of those kind of chaotic monster movies of the past. Like I've gone on to see maybe like God, what is it? It looks like it has the feel of that Rumpelstiltskin movie. It probably has the feel of that. Also, it kind of reminds me of Leprechaun in some ways. Uh, the character just kind of wreaking havoc through town and just finding these random people. But also, Hyde goes on and hits people in the nuts, and it's great. If you've never seen that Jekyll series, you need to see it. It's fun. It's hilarious. We have at a point where Hyde, when he changes it into that character in that show, goes on to sing in the jungle, the mighty jungle. Yeah, like we have Hyde, who's very much a kid, even though he's to be strong and an intimidating force. He's very much a child to Jekyll, who's to be much more of the adult and much more reasonable. And eventually, both Jekyll and Hyde combine into one at some point because they need one another uh, for how that show eventually ends. But anyways, Hyde goes on, makes his way to the club, and there is at one point when he starts honking at this car ahead of him, and the car will just go on like, "Hey man, f you," and so Hyde goes on and just keeps pushing the car ahead of him so he can go, and that car ends up getting into the crossroad and ends up getting an accident, and then Hyde is to thrust his butt out of his own car window while he's still driving. He thrusts his butt out the window and shakes it, and then gets back into his car and makes his way, parking in front of this place where these people with this bus are trying to get out of, and people who are to, of course, go on and ask this guy, "Hey, you've parked right in front of a bus stop. Like, where do you think that I really need to get out here?" And Hyde doesn't care. He beats up the guy and then continues to go into Madame Woo Woo's, as he has to say the name of it, as the writing of Madame Woo Woo is freaking out. So finally, Hyde gets into the club and he's telling everybody hi, 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 and the the people who are going on in the background are to be of a certain descent of themselves, as they are to seemingly make sushi foods and stuff of that nature, because of course it's Madame Woo Woo's. So I'm trying not to defend it and offend anybody. I'm just stating the obvious here. I'm stating the visuals of the place. I'm trying not to offend anybody. My apologies. I feel that I may have gone on and done that in other videos, so I'm trying. I'm really trying. I'm just stating the background, folks. Anyways, so we have Hyde that goes on to find a man and ask, "Is this seat taken?" And the guy says yes, and then Hyde asks again, and the guy's like, "No," and then so he leaves, so that way Hyde can sit on this, uh, at this stool near the front of this bar. Eventually, that'll get to a point when there, also in the bar, there's a lot of like mosh pitting going on and thrashing, and we'll have Hyde that goes on and orders a certain meal, some chicken sushi, and eventually they hand it to him. We hilariously enough have this woman that comes on and she announces this band and she calls it Ivy and the Shitty Rainbows. That obviously has to be the greatest name I've ever heard of a band, except for the sick F's from that other film that I'd gone on and seen fairly recently. So we have this person who, with like just the most I could not give a single F attitude, pronouncing this band, and then she leaves. And then this band comes on, and Ivy comes out, and her hair is green, and her outfit is green, and she lights up like a Christmas tree. And I am just like, what is going on here? The performance of this song is so good and so entertaining that it trumps any visual of which that is to be odd to anybody. It also is really hilarious how when Ivy is performing here, she also is to have certain people beat up one another, and she also goes on to put her heel on top of one person and kind of just press onto him, and like people are just kind of beating up one another. And Hyde is in the background just kind of watching this. He goes to one of the booths, and he's just eating one of the sceneries, like just munching on one of these walls here, as going on and looking at this woman and just being like, oh my god, I just want to devour her. He also at certain points has like a fan next to him, as like this fan is just blowing on him. Just good entertainment for all of any of the viewers. He goes on and takes a Polaroid of Ivy as she's performing. He goes on and eats the photo. Just this is so entertaining. So eventually, Ivy just starts heading into the crowd and continues to sing. And this is where finally Ivy is to be grabbed by Hyde, and eventually to go on and be taken by her into this back room with this bed, so that way Hyde can go on and talk to Ivy as she starts to undress. The two of them eventually go on to introduce one another, as here's where Hyde is to go on and get his name, because at some point Ivy is to go on and talk about hiding, and eventually Hyde is to say that his name is Hyde because his parents weren't exactly very uh, thoughtful about what his name would go on and be. So we would go on to have Ivy that finds this teddy bear from off of this bed and puts it on her leg, and the teddy bear looks like it's humping her, and I think Hyde is getting off on that. And we have Hyde that goes down to the ground and starts snorting what is to be left of his powdery substance. And shortly thereafter that, we have Hyde that goes on to shake Ivy's hand and then kind of almost consumes it. To where Ivy's to go on like, hey, you know an odd way of shaking hands. Like, were you in a fraternity? Shortly thereafter that, the following day, we find Ivy and now Jekyll in the bed together, as Jekyll is now mortified that he's in this strange place with this strange woman, and also he is seemingly wearing a wig. It seems a little strange. So Jekyll will start to look around and really realize that he has gone on to really experiment in the bedroom here. And Ivy will have turned and is to be spouting how she no longer wants any wire hangers, but she is still fast asleep. So Jekyll is to look around mortified and like, okay, so I've really experimented here, but how far have I really gone on to experiment? He has like flowers, a bouquet of flowers, like in his pants. And so he turns to realize that there is a number of expendable bills that he has gone on to spend with Champagne and all of these bills. And Jekyll's like, I'm ruined. And then all of a sudden, there is to be a sheep in the background. And Jekyll looks at it, he's like, oh my god, I really have experimented. oh my god. So that far, I went that far. So Jekyll now is to drive off to find exactly where Mary is. And it seems that Mary is to go on and be within this certain uh, writing academy. I had to kind of look specifically because I knew this was at a horse uh, kind of track of which where Mary's gonna have to go on and be jumping uh, through these certain barriers of sorts, but I had to state where the area actually was. So Jekyll is going on and walking in, regardless of this guy saying, "Hey, you can't go in there. You can't." No, 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 no. So Jekyll goes on to find that Mary is on her horse getting ready to jump these barriers. And we have this announcer, and God, is he hilarious. He goes on and he mentions that Mary is going out and her horse is named uh, a gift from Daddy, which I found to be hilarious. So we have Mary that turns and realizes that Daniel, Jekyll, is to be in the background shouting for her. And so what happens here is now Jekyll is chasing after Mary on this horse, and it seems he's doing a pretty decent bout of jumping over to these things while she's simultaneously being next to him. And people are almost in awe of what he's accomplishing here. So Jekyll is to come on and tell Mary, "I love you, I'm such a fool. Uh, let's get married tomorrow, Mary. I love you. You've made me so happy. I'm on the top of the world." So he's doing all this and he is lobbing over all these barriers. At one point he even needs this stick to like high jump over this one brick wall. And by the time he ends up going on and doing that, he is to be the winner of this barrier jumping over thing. And he ends up getting this huge flowery like award thing that he won this. And then Mary is there to like congratulate him. It's freaking hilarious. It's great. So Jekyll goes on and he makes his way back into the hospital. We go on and we see a nun walking in the background. And there's nothing a connection of why I state that. I'm just stating that just for reasons of my own personal uh, thought of what's going on here. So we have Dr. Carew, who's now with a man that is going to soon donate both of his bowels to Howes, to Herbert, to the old guy, because eventually he was only going to donate one of his bowels, but come to find out the guy is like, well, hey, I need two of them, so how much money do I need to give you to get them both? So because the guy will go on and he'll come in there and he'll want to donate one of his bowels, and we come to find out that Howes is watching through this camera a lot of the nurses, and they're in their locker room, so he has this weird private camera that he's snooping on these women with. So we have the guy that goes on to reveal that he's only willing to give up one ball, but then eventually the guy is like, no, 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 like, I'm gonna go on and give you endless amount of money for you to go on and donate both. And it even gets to the point where as the price goes higher and higher and higher, Carew even drops down his pants like, well, how about these, sir? $1 million, I'll give up both my balls. And eventually people are just like, what about me? And then the guy who was to have originally wanted to donate one of his balls, he's like, no, 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 no. I was willing to go on and give up one of them. I'll give up both of them now. Now that's $1 million. I'll give up both mine now. So they go on and they go through that. So which again, it's goofy, but also it's hilarious. So after that all is to be said and done with, we then go back uh to Jekyll here. Oh, after Houses to again threaten Crew about the whole, hey man, if you don't go on, if you don't do this operation, I'm gonna go on, I'm gonna put you in a pit, I'm gonna bury you, and this. And Crew goes on like, well, yeah, I remember everything that you said. I'm gonna repeat it back to you, and yeah, I know what's coming, so I'm definitely gonna go on and do everything that you say. So back with Jekyll here. So Jekyll is going on and getting all the powdery substance that he has left because he realizes that if he doesn't, he will be tempted to become Hyde again. So Jekyll is going on like, well, yeah, what do I need this substance for? Like, if anything, yeah, I think I should go on and get rid of it. It's kind of like in Eddie Murphy in the very first Nutty Professor, where he goes on and he is to realize that he doesn't want to be Buddy anymore. So he gets rid of all of uh, the potionist stuff that will go on and have him not become Buddy Love anymore. But eventually, he'll accidentally drink one of the things that have him become Buddy Love by accident. But this one will be kind of different here. So Jekyll goes on and is to take the powdery substance and make his way to the toilet because he's going to flush it down the toilet. And so Jekyll is to be so tempted to want to chuck this down the toilet, but his hand is to be thrusted, stopped by his other, and to be like, no, I just can't get rid of this. Jekyll will even toss the substance down in the toilet, flash it, and then grab it before it gets further and further down the tube so that he can save it and just be like, man, what was I thinking? Like, this could have gone on and had an animal find it, the animal could have gotten to it, and yeah, like, that's why I was really going on and saving some animal finding this powdery substance and taking it and consuming it, and because of the dangers of them. No, it's for himself. So Jekyll is to go on and sniff the pantyhosen, and also the woman ends up calling Jekyll at some point a hoser. So I'm curious where this place was actually filmed. Was it filmed in Canada? Because if it was, for her saying hoser, like, was that actually to be an insult of that which Canadians use? Because I am to go on and to have watched a number of Canadians who it seems are to have the insult of hoser. I am to be from a northern climate of Minnesota, so I am to have also have known about at certain times, but I am to, of course, speak in a very northern-like accent at certain points. But also, for the Canadian people, I am to enjoy them thoroughly, deliciously, and what have you. So believe me, I'm not to try to make fun of Canadians in any nature of kind. I'm just to say that immediately when I heard the word hoser, that's my connection of that insult. And to just probably say that this movie was probably filmed in probably Canada somewhere because it's probably a lot cheaper. Anywho, we have Jekyll that goes on and he gets ever so tempted to snort this powdery substance yet again. Jekyll goes on to eventually take the powder out and put it in another bag. He weighs it. He's to go on and be like, no, I'm really in control of myself. I'm not going to go on and not going to give into this powder. I'm not going to go on and do it again. And then all of a sudden we come to find that he's like, well, maybe one little snort. And then he does go on and snort it once. He ends up changing into Hyde and he goes through the transition again. He goes on to make his way through the hospital, and we would come to find the guy who had donated both of his bowels is to go on and make his way through the hospital. And we immediately have Hyde who kicks him in the nuts and walks off. And we have the guy who ends up getting kicked in the nuts, like, watch out, buddy! As now is, watch out, buddy! as his voice is now shrunk because his balls are gone. So Hyde runs off to the hospital and he steals a ambulance of all things. He goes on to grab this device, shoves it in one of the paramedics' mouths, and then goes on to make his way into the ambulance. And we have one of the ambulance drivers that are trying to stop him. And he's like, "Hey man, you want to ride?" And so he grabs the paramedic and he chucks him into this fountain and then continues to drive on. So Hyde makes his way back to Madame Woo Woo's and is talking to the guys while they're doing this bizarre game of poker where they chop the deck in half with this cleaver. I don't know why. They just did it. So Hyde goes on and is to ask these guys, "Hey, where is Ivy?" And they're like, "Well, we're not going to tell you where Ivy is." And so he drops this powdery substance right in front of them, and they immediately tell him, "Dude, she's at the grocery store." So he's like, "Aha." So Hyde drives his way to the grocery store. We see this guy with a massive amount of carts, and he's dragging them, I believe, back to the front of the grocery store because that always happens. There's always some guy out there trying to haul all these carts back, and he ends up probably doing way too many of them. I've been guilty of doing that too because I'm like, dude, I do not want to go on and have to do a certain amount of trucks to get all these carts into the. No, what I would do, I would line them all up right in front of the store as best as I can, and then get to a point of a good run to try to get them all into the store at one time instead of going on and trying to separately kind of take them in a certain number of group. No, I would just be, I'm going to take every single one of these and shove them all in the front of the store, so that way I don't have to do things twice. So the ambulance goes on and crashes through the carts and makes its way in front of this grocery store, opens the back of the van, and goes on to find the cart guy, takes him, shoves him into one of these carts, and then goes into the store. Hyde starts calling out for Ivy. He even whips out this, God, what is it called? The microphone, the announcer thing. It's not a phone like most of other grocery stores would go on. Just have a phone that has like a speaker on it. Hyde goes on and grabs this microphone and is calling out for Ivy as she hears it in somewhere in the distance of this grocery store. We have at one point where Hyde is walking by this woman and her son. The son is honestly to look very familiar to me, but I can't quite place who he is. But I know he's a very well-known actor. He's been in a number of things, but I'm trying to figure out exactly where to place him in. But he's very well-known. Even the mom, I think, is a very well-known actor also. So as Hyde walks by, this woman is to have an egg in her hand, and she accidentally smacks the egg on the kid's head. And the kid's like, "Ah!" And the mom's like, "Oh yeah, I didn't realize what I was doing." I don't know what it is. Hyde must just have this female magnetism that's just undeniable from all these women. And also, we have Hyde that is to go on and be sniffing out Ivy, and he stumbles upon this dog, and the dog starts barking. And obviously, in every monster movie, we have to realize that a cat and dog, they always hate monsters, or they always hate the bad guy, and Hyde, I guess, is the bad guy. So Hyde and dog have this like argument. This woman is actually in the wine aisle, while Ivy is in the cereal aisle. Ivy goes on and makes her way out of the cereal aisle with this guy who is obviously working there. He's a clerk or whatever, and he's taking this brush of some kind and he's brushing his hair and it gets stuck in there. So Hyde gets into the cereal aisle and no Ivy there, so he continues to make his way through the grocery store. Eventually, he is to find Ivy's butt sticking out off in the distance, so he's like, "Oh, that has to be Ivy." We weirdly have Hyde who goes in this weird Heisman football stance. I don't know why he does that. I guess it's just like the, oh, if I can just get my hands ever so close to her buttocks, I can just feel her. But ever so I continue to need to walk. So Hyde and store worker here, they're like neck and neck next to one another. They're watching this woman and they're in awe, which was just this funny scene here. Hyde goes and grabs this hose from the store worker, grabs it away from him, sprays it on him, has him leave, and then Hyde goes on and sprays this hose down onto his own pantalones, and then goes on to make his way to Ivy and grabs her. It's like, oh, hey, yeah, you shop here? And he's like, yeah, I'm shopping for you. And so Hyde goes on and thrusts Ivy over these grapes. And the further and further they're smashing into them, he's talking about how they're going to make wine out of the smashing of them on these grapes. And Ivy's like, well, hey, I got to go grocery shopping. Like, if anything, like, if I go on and I be intimate with you, are you going to pay for my groceries? And Hyde's like, sure, I will. So Ivy's like, okay, like, I think I'll go on and I'll do what you want. But and that's where we kind of see the finger point here. That's kind of the scene that I kind of took from this movie. So Ivy agrees, and she also goes on to tell Hyde, it's like, who does her hair? So they go to the cash registers. We realize that Ivy and Hyde need to go into the 10 items or less. But Hyde goes on and starts counting, and there's 11 items. So he's like, oh, we can't just go to the express lane. We have to go to the other lanes, but the other lane is to be way too long. So Hyde goes on, and he forces his way through all of these people and have this cart just kind of go through all. And so Hyde goes on and just chucks this money at this woman, and they leave. And he tells her to keep the change, and so they get out of there. So Hyde takes the cart, chucks into the ambulance, and Ivy's like, oh my god, you have a van. Are you a surfer? And so Hyde chucks Ivy into the van too. So the next thing we see here is Jekyll waking up with him going on and being in yet another bed, and there seems to be a bunch of either cards or like, I'm assuming this is some kind of, I want to say there may be even they're either playing cards or they're stamps. That's what I was trying to say here. And Jekyll wakes up to realize that he has not only slept with Ivy, but then he has also slept with some man in this bed. So Jekyll's like, oh my god! So Jekyll goes on as he is to have awakened and makes his way to specifically Mary's home. Not willing to go on and wait to find Mary in the next morning. No. Jekyll goes on to make his way to Mary's home. So we have two of these jockeymen who turn to one another, and they notice that there is to be some man who's crawling along the house. One of the jockeys say to the other, it's like, well, like, is he a white man? And they say yes. It's like, well, let him fall then if he falls. So Jekyll is crawling through the home, and Mary eventually is to seem to be reading a book and overhears him. She also, right next to him, is to have a picture of Jekyll, and there's a lipstick kiss upon it. So Jekyll is to be yelling out Mary. Mary is to overhear this and say, Daniel? And so she goes out to the window. Mary is to go on and tell Jekyll that her bedroom is down here, And so Jekyll's like, so what bedroom am I in front of now? And she used to go on and say, my father's. And he's like, oh. So Jekyll slides down, gets to Mary's uh, room, and here's again where Jekyll is to be groveling to Mary, like, oh, I'm such a clod. Uh, and Mary's like, oh, that's not so bad. Like, I can make a sandwiches with no, wait. Uh, Mary had gone on to say that she had eaten veal, and Jekyll had said, "Oh yeah, I'm such a clod." It's like, "Oh no, well, the veal isn't that bad. If anything, I can make a sandwich out of it. I can make this and that." Da, 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 da. So, like, Mary's not even paying attention to what even Jekyll is saying here, and Jekyll says to Mary, "It's like we need to go to your bedroom," and she's like, "My bedroom?" And he's like, "Yes." She's like, "Okay." So the two of them make their way into her bedroom, and so Jekyll tells Mary that he needs her and for them to go on and start taking off all their clothes. So Jekyll starts making adjustments in the room, turning off lights, and then eventually the two of them get into the bed. We would have Jekyll that goes on and lights a cigarette and says, "That's beautiful." And Mary is like, "Wait a minute, like, you didn't really do anything." So at some point, Dr. Crew appears and is have a gun on him. And asking Jekyll, it's like, "Hey, did you come here to ravish my daughter?" And and so we have Jekyll here that goes on and tells Dr. Carew here that it's like, "Well, hey, I'm gonna go on and I've decided to do the operation for you." And Dr. Carew turns to Jekyll, it's like, "Hey, fuck her brains out." And then he's like, "Okay, all right." And then he leaves. So the very next day, Jekyll is going on and he's tempted again to take the white substance. And he's deciding whether or not to take it, flush it, or he's at the toilet again. We have Dr. Crew that comes in. It's like, "Hey man, we're doing this operation." So he grabs the substance and just kind of like he tells uh, like Jekyll to like, "Come on, let's go." So Dr. Crew goes on and he has his now army helmet and he's talking to all of the doctors as if this is going into battle and to have this whole like speech of a thing just kind of set up of what they're prepared for and how Carew is going to go on and assist Jekyll himself in this operation. And so Jekyll gets in there and is starting to ask for scalpel, the sharp thing. And immediately there's to be a woman that ends up getting into Jekyll's hands, and that's when we get the reveal of a bust. And Jekyll's to look down like, "Oh." So we start to have Jekyll starting to get very much out of control. As he's going on, he's grabbing onto these doctor utensils and he's like holding himself. And here's where we start to have him transition between both Hyde and Jekyll. We also see his pinky nail starting to grow, and he's like, "Wait a minute, like I haven't taken any of the substance yet. Why is this now happening?" He doesn't really understand what's going on. And he's transitioning from Jekyll and Hyde. He's starting to sound more aggressive, more angry, more rude, and what have you. So Jekyll say it's like, okay, like since we're having to do this operation, I have to try to figure out how to save this man in the nick of time. And so Jekyll tries to go on and do the procedure, but then he grabs, I think, laughing gas and he shoves it into his mouth and starts breathing it in. And so we all of a sudden get this hair that starts to poke out of Jekyll's little cloth hat, and he tries to comb it back and tries to hide it. So the further and further this procedure goes on, the more we have to realize that Jekyll is not going to be good for this operation. So they go on and they still get all the organs to come out here, and we see that they're all having to be labeled what exactly they all are. So, of course, we as the common person would probably not know what all these freaking organs are. Even though, honestly, some of the organs honestly look like food and onion rings, and they don't actually look like organs, but they are, I guess. So, when Jekyll goes on and sees the organs, he grabs them, like the whole tray of it, and he throws it into the air. And now, while all the other doctors are scrambling to get all these organs and realizing that there are ways to use them because they're not sterile, we have Jekyll that goes on and scrambles and leaves here. Dr. Cruz says, okay, well, I guess we have to go with plan B, and because all these organs are now a waste. So Crew goes on and he opens up his chest and immediately has a doctor cut into him while he's standing there. So we now have the plastic surgeon, Dr. Lanley, that is going on and talking to this patient about breast augmentation. And he's talking to her about the procedure. So he's doing this while having this yellow robe on. And so Jekyll makes his way to Lanley and is talking to him and is hoping that he can come up with some solution to help Jekyll with the problem that he's having. And Jekyll goes on to explain that there's something wrong with him and that he is just seemingly need an antidote for it. And that he had just left a man in surgery because of this problem. So Lanley is to say, it's like, well, hey, I have a problem myself. And then he goes on to reveal off of his robe that he wears lingerie. And he's like, well, yeah, I used to just kind of wear this casually. Now I need to wear it all the time. So here's where Jekyll finally starts turning into Hyde. He starts changing his hair. His hair starts to grow wildly. His ring starts to appear. And further and further, what ends up happening here is Jekyll completely transforms into Hyde. While that's going on, we accidentally have Lanley that is not paying attention to his patient, and he reveals her and realizes that her boobs have gotten humongous. And Lanley's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I will definitely go on and correct this procedure." And the patient's like, "No, I actually like my boobs these massive, huge, large amounts. So it's fine. Like I'll go on and I'll definitely impress my husband with the size of these things." So she walks off. So Hyde goes on and starts making his way through the hospital, and eventually he bumps into these two priests, and they use their crosses and their Star of Davids to have Hyde go on like, "Oh, you're hurting me." So Hyde goes on and he makes his way back to Jekyll's lab, hoping that there's some left of that white powdery substance that Jekyll has gone on to use to transform. And it doesn't seem that Hyde can find much, but he is to kind of lick this knife, and all of a sudden he takes the knife out and he bends the out of it. And all of a sudden there is this nurse that appears to give him this telegram, going on to stating that from this telegram that Jekyll has been given this grant for $500,000 because he has won this, because this procedure of him going on and figuring out how to be able to get the survivalist instincts from people, or to be a study that it seems have gotten him this big huge grant. So Hyde is going on and thinking about this money, and he's realizing, hey, if I can go on and get this money when I go to London and retrieve it, then I will go on and be able to have Ivy and pay her to service me as long as I want, because this will be endless amount of money. So basically saying that Hyde is going to buy Ivy with this money. So Hyde goes on, and once he leaves this nurse that is to have this telegram, it's kind of funny because this nurse is like, "Take me with you. I'm trash. I'll do whatever you want." So again, we're like, does Hyde have this like sexual magnetism, or is it just like that these women just want the, what is it? Like, I'm just so confused. But anyways, Hyde goes on, and he's trying to get this phone number, and he's going through the uh this service. I think he like star or I think he operates her. He goes to the operator and tries to figure out what her number is. And Hyde goes on of like, well, yeah, if you don't go on and you give me this number, I will come through this phone and kill you and hurt you. And so the person goes on like, okay, fine, if that's what you want. So gives her the number, or gives Hyde the number. So Hyde goes on again and is to find some old lady in this parking lot. Old lady finds this lady in this parking lot and pushes her into the passenger seat of this car and then drives away with her. We have this woman that is going on and continuing to mace Hyde in the face, and Hyde just takes the mace and he sprays it in his mouth, he sprays it under his arm. He goes on and takes this woman and opens up her sunroof, lifts her up, closes the sunroof, and now someone is going, ah! And weirdly enough, people around her are oddly thinking that this is some ambulance, so they're parking off to the side, and then they see this woman, ah! And they're like, oh, that's what that was. So Hyde goes on to find that Ivy, weirdly enough, is in an arcade. This doesn't make any sense to me of why Ivy's in this arcade, but she's there. Uh, Plus, also, it's a very interesting visual for this movie. So, Hyde goes on and finds Ivy playing Pac-Man in this arcade, and eventually Hyde is to go on and talk to Ivy, and there seems to be Hyde stating to Ivy, hey, read this telegram. And also, uh, Hyde goes on to reveal that him and Jekyll are the same guy, that they have the same shoes, that they have the same pants, that they're the same person. So, Ivy doesn't exactly believe Hyde, and eventually, Ivy ends up getting more and more just kind of like a little scared of Hyde, a little bit just like, I don't know if I want to be with this guy anymore. This guy is too much. So, but also, Hyde is to show Ivy the pantyhose to again, like say, hey, yeah, look, I am Jekyll. I am this guy. Look, I even have the pantyhose that you gave me the first time we met. So, Ivy goes on and goes into one of the games and she starts playing, and Hyde gets very upset because, again, all Hyde wants is to F this woman. So Hyde goes on, and while this girl's playing this game, he starts thrashing the machine to the point to where all of a sudden chickens are come flying out of this machine for some odd reason. And because the machine is called Grand Racer, so I'm not quite sure why chickens have anything to do with it, but they're there. So Hyde gets so upset he just finally just decides to leave. Ivy is upset for Hyde going on to have wrecked this machine, that she wants to go on and follow him all the way to London so that way she can go on and kill him. I was so confused by that. Why go all the way to London? Why take that time and do that thing? But anyway, so we have Hyde. He makes his way to the airport, and Hyde is going on, and he is sitting on top of the plane while it's going on. He's drinking this martini. He's having this long stretch of cigarette, and he's saying that this is the only way to fly. So Ivy is to go on and to get a train to somehow get to London. Does that make sense to anybody? Like, we consistently see her taking train to train to train. I'm like, wouldn't you think there'd be some ferry device or some kind of something? I don't know. That they would have to show here. I think they may have shown her on a plane, but I'm not quite sure. Anyways, the next time we see Hyde here, he's now very much looking like the Sonic villain Jim Carrey Robotnik, and like with like this massive mustache that is really Robotnik-ish, and then the spiked hair has gotten so spiky, and so it looks so goofy, but it's so funny. So we go on here, and London is to have this what looks like some award show. And so we have these awards given out for these certain funding, and we would come to find that there's a guy that comes up and like, now everybody, the queen. And you would think the queen would be some woman, but all of a sudden this guy stands up and he is to start talking. It's like, oh, so we're going that route. Okay, the queen is a guy. Funny. So the queen goes on and he starts giving out these awards. So we come to find this couple going up there, and they're accepting this award. They're giving this whole speech, and in the background we have both Mary and Lanley, and they're talking to one another. We have at one point where Lanley says to Mary, "It's like, well, I don't like women," and even though he dresses up in lingerie, he hates women and kind of like lashes out at Mary, and it's funny, but it's also just kind of like, okay, what the did that come from? Like while the two of them continue to just talk here, Lanley talks about the last time he had gone on to see Jekyll, about how eventually Jekyll had transformed in this very sexy, uh, but very different individual, and so like that's to tell Mary that now Jekyll is seemingly becoming a different person or individual now. And then eventually when Lanley is to see Hyde when he does this performance, it's like, oh yeah, that's the guy. So to further try to get this done as humanly possible, because I know I have almost 2 hours now, and like I know this is only an hour and 20-minute film. We have a seemingly celebrity on Jekyll's behalf accept his award, and the celebrity is to come on and say that this powder that he has on him will go on and be put to other usages or to be donated somewhere. And Hyde is to go on and interrupt this and take the substance for himself. And then shortly thereafterwards, he is to go on and put this dance number on, and he is to sing this song. So also Hyde is to go on and do also this like he's to do this comedy bit. He's to basically do stand up. It's weird. So that's when things kind of stretch on way too long here. So Hyde goes on, he does this comedy bit, this dance number, and then starts ripping off all his clothes, seemingly, to the point of all he is to really have left on is possibly a shirt and this trench coat. Hyde runs off the stage while all these British men are chasing after him, as well they should be. And Hyde is to seemingly leave this area with some kind of black cloak on him that he kind of thrusts onto his body and runs around town. So Hyde is to now be chased by a plethora of many people. Mary, Lanley, Ivy eventually is to find him uh, while uh, at this time where Hyde is getting out of this award show or whatever this place really was. So Ivy is chasing after him. So we get to a point where Hyde is breaking into these places, getting to the top of this building, and Ivy is having this gun tempted to shoot Hyde. So eventually what happens here is we get to this rooftop. Hyde goes on as seemingly hiding in this chimney. And when Ivy, Laney, and Mary are there, or Laney, the plastic surgeon guy, Hyde pokes his head out. Ivy shoots him, and then after Ivy shoots Hyde, Hyde falls to the ground, and the next thing we see is that Hyde is to be possibly to either be dead or is to be subdued as far as reverting back to Jekyll. And Ivy and Mary are kind of fighting over Jekyll because Ivy is to say that this guy is to go on and be hers and that he's an endless man of wild needs and this and that. And Mary's like, well, hey, like, he's to be my fiance and like we're meant to be engaged and this. So both Mary and Ivy are fighting over this guy, and also the two of them have been both intimate with him, and so the both of them are to want to, of course, want this man. Jekyll ends up getting seemingly uh, to be alive again, and is now to realize that both of these women want him, and the both of them will have them simultaneously at the same time. That they're okay sharing him, and they walk away with him. We have both the Queen and Langley that are kind of looking at one another, and it seems that there's a possibility that the two of them uh, may get a little place to be together. But if anything, as Mary, Jekyll, and Ivy walk off here, we all of a sudden see the grave of Robert Louis Stevenson, who is to have been the guy of author of the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It says so on his tombstone. And we see his grave. And this man, as a skeleton, is writhing in his grave. And he is to go on and be rolling, I guess, into his grave because of this story and how horrible it is, I guess, and the skeleton of mind. And so that's how the movie just ends. I'm gonna get that out of here. Thank you for watching this. I'm gonna get that out of here. Hopefully people will go on and check this video out, and hopefully a lot of you people will. I hope. So that way I can go on and get something that does really well on the channel, because I've really just been needing something that has really been moving the needle, and maybe this might be one of those. But then again, when I'm to go on and hope that that actually does happen, and I state that in a video, that's when something does not do well at all. There's some stuff where I'm just like randomly, I'm like, I'll just review the Patrick Swayze, Whoopi Goldberg, Demi Moore film Ghost and just see what happens there. I enjoy that film and I like it. And wildly, when I was to go on and review that, that did really well. And I was like, wow, like, great, because I actually really liked that film. So it's good that something does well when I like something, because that makes me happy. Like, I like those things. Like, I don't like when, like, I hate, and I mean hate something, and that's when a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, definitely watch the out of that." I'm like, "No." Because if anything, like, that does not put me in a good light, because there was a long time where I went on and I did a lot of new releases, and I really didn't like a lot of new releases. And then someone in one of the videos was just like, "Man, do you just hate everything?" I'm like, "No, I just felt forced to watch a lot of new releases that none of them were good." Like, I thought that's what I was gonna have to do, is watch a lot of new releases, because the new releases during that time were doing actually well. But I just didn't really like a lot of the things were coming out. So I would just go on and just push to do all these classic movies and shows and stuff like that. And like, that just got me to a much more sane, happier place. But also, like, it's also just that gambling bit of situation of just like, what is going to be the best possible thing that will actually do well specifically for me. But like, it will probably go on and do very well. Like, there's gonna be a number of things where just there's a lot of factors that just kind of plays on things doing well. And sometimes it's not really about like what movie and show you choose. Sometimes it's specifically about the actual YouTuber and how well they speak, or how attractive they are, or whatever thing. And it has nothing to do with the content. You could pick anything and it'll do well. But at that point, but yeah, but for me specifically, it's to at a point where it's like, I could probably be as attractive as I can possibly be, but still, like, which will never happen. But like, I would have to have like plastic surgery to fix this butt of face. But anyways, um, but yeah, but going on, I have to just pick the right content, and I have to pick it consistently well. And like, there was a time where that happened, but that time is to have really passed. So, but I do this honestly because I enjoy it. I love it. Like, this is something that once I found out I could do it, like, I just hoped that I could somehow just continue to do it. Yeah, like, I obviously don't have as much energy as I used to do these videos, and a lot of times I really take too long to get to them. But I'm still chomping away to try to still do these, even though they're absurdly long. And also, probably anybody in the brother would probably just watch the first minute of this and then bounce off and just be like, "Oh, I'll get the consensus of this video," and go away. Because a lot of people probably won't watch 2 hours, and the runtime of a movie being hour and 20 minutes or hour and 30 minutes or whatever. But regardless, I approach these how I enjoy wanting to do them. And regardless of how people will probably feel that, yeah, like, what I'm doing is probably a waste of time, and what I'm doing is to also just right now even being putting a foot in my mouth. I wanted to do this just to have fun, and that's always what I wanted to do, is to share a movie, help other people find these films, because they've probably either never heard of them before, or haven't watched them as much as I have, or don't know other familiar things that are to be similar to this, and go on to discover other things if they don't like this specific piece. So, with that said, thank you for watching this. I'm going to get that out of here so I can upload this today, and then turn around and probably just do a bit of cardio today to try to fix this, to try to look a little bit better. Yeah, I have gone on to, even though my exercises or my workouts are doing really well. I've kind of been really my diet hasn't really tanked recently, but uh, I feel, in all honesty, that my diet tanking right now, that's fine because honestly, I kind of need it for what I'm trying to accomplish in my workouts because I feel if I'm a little bit bigger, that uh, me getting to certain heights of weight is kind of important to me right now. And then once I achieve those goals, then I will start to diet a lot more harder and I'll eventually see if I can get back down to 210 pounds and kind of see if I can go on and still get to some kind of um, like I'll see where all of my lifts go and see if all of those really go to crap or if they stay the way they are. I'm also hoping in the following months to possibly get uh, some certain things that are going to incorporate uh, a possible easier way to do my exercises and lifts. So I'm hoping to get those certain things, but money is kind of tight right now. Money is just kind of like, I should probably be using this for something better off. And but it's also just like, well, could I figure out a way to just get these things that I actually do need? Because there is a plethora of things that I really do need right now. And there are stuff that I'm like waiting a very long time to get. Um, but I'm hoping eventually I will get those things. And for a lot of people, like, well, hey, is that going to be better, newer equipment for all this that you're doing right now? No. If anything, to go up in some kind of rung of dollarinos to get any higher quality of things, yeah, that costs way too much for me right now. But um, like, yeah, those may go on to be things that I absolutely need, but because it looks better. But then again, also, it's just like I'm trying as much as possible to spend on things that I absolutely have needed for a very long time, rather than splurging on things that are to go on and be things that are to be not as useful and are to be just kind of these temporary bit of fixture things that'll just go on to be like, oh yeah, well, I will get a lot of use out of it, but like it's not as important as this, that, and this. So anyways, I'm gonna get that out of here because I've been ranting, blathering for a long time. Or maybe none of this stuff will go on and come to pass. Maybe I'll go on and I'll get into some kind of problem of some kind, and then all of everything that I'm saying here will mean nothing. So, with that said, uh, right now I'm probably the happiest that I've probably been in such a long time, and I hope that continues. I hope that that things will continue to go well, not only with me, but everybody who's going on to decide to view this, and also the people that I've gone on to meet in the time of which that I've done this, and whatever, what have you. So I'm gonna get out of here. Bye, buddy. Bye, everybody.